Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Brian. Today, we're going to be taking a look at the newest Bardstown Bourbon Company, Distillery Reserve. I've been loving these 375 bottles that Bardstown's been putting out. We had the Cathedral French Oak, a lot of people talking about this one. We moved to the Hokkaido, the Mizunara Oak finish, and today we are talking about the newest one, comes out on Black Friday. This is the Normandie Calvados Brandy barrel finish. Now, this is a 13-year blend of bourbons that was finished for 28 months in Calvados brandy barrels, then 4 months in toasted oak. So my first thought too, when I see this, because of other things that we've seen from like some double oaking toasting products from Bardstown, is the toast going to be too much? The other thing I'm thinking about is just how is this going to follow in the footsteps of the other releases? Let's go ahead and find out. While I have you here though, jump down below, give me a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Help me continue to grow the channel in 2025 as we head into 2026. Before we get too far, I want to hear, what are your thoughts on distilleries, Bardstown and otherwise, putting out these 375 bottles? I'm a huge fan of them. I like the smaller offerings. I like being able to try various products and sizes like this. Sometimes I don't need a full bottle. Let me hear what your all's thoughts are too. Let's go ahead and dive in. The nose right away is rich and it's super jammy. Not only that, it's dense and very, very buttery. I feel like there are some tannins here. They're not quite red wine-like tannins, but they're not quite really dry toasted oak tannins either. It's not as spiced or linear as you might get generally with a toasted oak, but kind of. So it's almost like apple cider or like a freshly baked apple pie. The gooey caramels, the more supportive layers that just kind of keep giving you more and more to kind of draw you in here on the nose. Let's go ahead and dive in on a sip. Ooh. The oak is not shy here. There's a really beautiful sweetness and oakiness combo together. This makes me think of something, but I'll get there in just a minute. Oh man, wow. Okay, these are the types of flavors that I love, that I really like to come to. Plush, creamy, slightly fragrant, but then layers and layers of fruit. And I'm talking dark cherry, fig jam, raspberry, more of that apple, the crispness, some pear, almost a little bit balsamic-like in the way that it kind of tingles on the palate, but is still rich and oily on the palate as well. To kind of go ahead and get out of the way, the concern I had about the toasting at the end is not a problem here. I mean, this is a delicious, gripping, clinging, syrupy pour. Now, let's jump over to comparisons because I personally find this really, really interesting. The first thing I thought of when I dove into this glass was the latest batch of Raconteur Rye. Now, this one is the Gemini 1. It's the Indiana batch. Now, hear me out. The reason I say that is because when I tasted this, Gemini 1 and Gemini 2, I thought they both had this extra dense sweetness, this appley like coating sweetness and playfulness that from the past batches of Raconteur, I even commented that they tasted Calvados-like in that kind of sweetness that it offered. This is a rye through and through. So while I can kind of pull some similarities going back and forth between the two, it's not the best comparison because it's a rye. So let me bring out one more. Similar camp, but a bit different. This is Altschuler. I say this because this is also from Woodwork Collective, and this is a 12-year Indiana bourbon, somewhat similar, not Calvados finished here. Now, tasting and comparing, they are very different from one another. This is not, again, Calvados finished. But those who have kept with the channel or they know my personal preferences know that I gravitate towards this bottle, the 11 years, what Woodwork does in general, because it has this thing about it, this perfumey, this elegance that dances with the oak. And I find that beautiful. So these have been very special to me in terms of like bottles that my palate personally enjoys. So going back over here to this Bardstown, there's no denying the finish that's here on the glass, but man, does it not present the type of viscosity, butteriness, and even that kind of poetic dance that I really like to find in a pour. Now, the biggest question would be for a consumer, how big are you on finishes? Because as much as I personally really enjoy this pour, I could see it being still a little bit intense for another drinker if you don't really like finishes. That said, I mean, if anyone does finishes well, I do think Bardstown Bourbon Company does finishes really well. Man, the more I sit with it, especially coming off of like trying the Outshul or trying the Raconteur, I get a little bit of that toasty oak kind of moving over the palate a little bit more. It's coming through as you sit with the glass in this kind of toasty marshmallow, this kind of toasty, creamy sweetness that blankets over that plump, plush fruitiness that you had noticed at first. But man, for this being 104 proof, this sucker is banging. I mean, it drinks way, way thicker than 104. This is really, really tasty. This is another really, really good one from the folks at Bardstown Bourbon Company. I don't think these are comparable, but let's go ahead and compare it to like the Cathedral and to the Hokkaido. The Hokkaido, and honestly what I think about, one of my through lines through a lot of these distillery releases is that you kind of have to sit with them, and they're a slow burn. They continue to evolve as you sit with them in the glass. I think that Bardstown does the Mizunara finish really, really well. It's really nuanced, but compared to the others, it's not as loud. And I feel like because of that, it could be maybe more easily forgettable. The oak is much more balanced in the glass. The spice, the kind of drier spice, these kind of cherry notes, they're all what I would say if like flavor could range from here. It's a much tighter pocket of those flavors. So you have to, if you're not really looking for a challenging pour, and there's a lot of people I think, at any given time aren't looking for something like that, the Hokkaido is going to provide that in a pocketed, controlled sweet spice sort of way. 109 proof, so it's a little bit higher in the proof, a little bit dangerously so because of that, but much more nuanced, controlled in that regard. Now let's jump to the Cathedral. The Cathedral is such an interesting bruiser of a pour. This is one that in the very beginning, I didn't quite understand the hype. But then as I tried to compare it to other things, I kept coming back to it and noticing layers and flavors that it had that I just wasn't finding in other products. And for that reason, I started to appreciate it a little bit differently. And I'd actually be curious to hear what other people appreciate about it as well. Man, this one just has like such a heavy layer of like controlled spice, but also like sticky fruitiness. Just kind of drying, just yum. Sticky fruitiness, whatever that means. This one ranges from 9 to 18 years old as well. 110 proof, chocolatey, deep, dense, dark. So honestly, going back real quick to the Normandie, I think these are almost polar opposite. Cathedral, luscious, dense, dark, thick, potent. Normandie, bright, lively. That Normandie is juicy, sugary, appley, crisp, yum sauce. Man, opposite sides of the coin. Opposite sides. I don't know when this video is going to go out. I might try and put it out leading into Thanksgiving for folks who can be aware about it releasing. It's going to release, I would imagine, at both locations. $99. So for $375, you decide whether that's worth it or not. That's going to do it for the newest Bardstown Normandie. I'd love to hear as you all get a chance to try it. What your all's thoughts on this are down in the comments. Thanks as always, everybody, for tuning into another video. Hope it was insightful, informational, and until next time, we'll see you all later.